Some names in the pages of history are not written merely for the chair of power, but to change an entire era. Just imagine a woman who spent 40 years of her life as a traditional wife and mother, who had never given a speech at a public rally, and who had no connection whatsoever with politics. Suddenly, she steps into the world and accomplishes what had never happened before in human history. July 21st, 1960, when the whole world believed that politics was only a game for men, this small island in the Indian Ocean stunned the world by giving it the first elected female prime minister. But this journey was not a bed of roses. This is the story of blood, tears, betrayals, and a widow who turned her husband's blood-soaked shirt into a flag and changed the destiny of an entire nation. Today, we will narrate the story of the woman whom the world called the Crying Widow, but time proved that she was Sri Lanka's Iron Lady. Sirimavo Bandaranaike. This is not just a name, but a metaphor for a revolution. When we talk about South Asian politics, names like Indira Gandhi or Benazir Bhutto come to mind, but the one who paved the way for all of them was Sirimavo. She took leadership at a time when Sri Lanka, then Ceylon, was gripped by ethnic riots, economic crisis, and the remnants of colonialism. In this documentary, we will not only mention her successes, but also uncover those aspects of her personality that have been buried under the dust of history. Was she truly a great leader, or merely a product of circumstances? The Ceylon of the 1940s and 50s, the shadows of British rule still loomed over it. Independence came in 1948, but the country was divided into two parts. On one side was the elite who spoke English and imitated the West, and on the other was the common man who yearned for his Sinhala language and Buddhist identity. In this era, the United National Party, UNP, ruled, but a new restlessness was awakening in the hearts of the people. Amid this political turmoil, Sirimavo's husband, Swrd Bandaranaike, emerged as a messiah. He spoke for the common man, and it was here that the seeds of politics were sown in the background of Sirimavo's life. On April 17, 1916, a girl was born in Ratnapura, Sri Lanka, named Sirimavo Ratwat. She was not born into an ordinary family. Her family was heir to the ancient royal families of Kandy. Her father, Barnes Ratwat, was an influential politician, and her mother also came from a respected family. Sirimavo was raised in a royal environment where manners, dignity, and religious values were given the highest priority. She was the eldest among 6 siblings, and perhaps that is why responsibility was ingrained in her nature. Sirimavo's early education was at St. Bridget's Convent in Colombo. Despite receiving education in a Catholic school, she remained strictly committed to her Buddhist beliefs. What was she like? Contemporaries say she was a quiet-natured, highly disciplined, and serious woman. She was fond of playing tennis and passionate about gardening. Her teachers said she was not very intelligent, but she had no shortage of common sense and perseverance. She was a personality who believed more in listening than in speaking. The year 1940 proved to be the most important year in Sirimavo's life. She married the rising star of Ceylon, Swrd Bandaranaike. It was an alliance of two powerful families called the Wedding of the Century. For the next 19 years, Sirimavo appeared as an ideal wife. She raised 3 children, Chandrika, Sunethra, and Anura. She stood behind her husband like a shadow, hosting guests but never appeared on the public stage. Who could have imagined that this silent woman would one day take the reins of the same country? One fateful morning in September 1959, the world trembled. Prime Minister Bandaranaike was shot dead by a Buddhist monk on the veranda of his own home. The entire country drowned in grief. After her husband's death, Sirimavo was shattered, but her party, SLFP, was disintegrating. The leaders had no face that could unite the people. Then all eyes turned to the widow. At first, she refused, she cried, she panicked. But then she made the decision that changed history. She stepped into the field, one hand on her husband's picture and the other on the pulse of the people. Wherever she went, tears flowed, and the people began to feel her pain as their own. Opponents mocked her as the crying widow, but those same tears became a flood for the opposition. In the July 1960 elections, Sirimavo achieved a success unparalleled in history. She became the world's first elected female prime minister. When she first entered the Prime Minister's house, the world's media cameras were focused on her. Everyone wanted to see how a woman who had never been in politics would run a country burning in ethnic and economic fire. Sirimavo proved as soon as she took power that her resolve was as strong as rock. She took several revolutionary and controversial decisions. Language policy. She declared Sinhala as the sole official language. Its aim was to build national identity, but it angered the Tamil minority and sowed the seeds for future civil war. Nationalization. She brought foreign oil companies, insurance institutions, and schools under state control. She wanted to take the country towards socialism. Establishment of the Republic. In 1972, she changed the name of Ceylon to Sri Lanka and declared it a fully independent republic, ending the shadow of the British crown forever. During her tenure, Sri Lanka built its own distinct identity. She played an important role in the non-aligned movement. She stood on the global stage alongside Jawaharlal Nehru and Gamal Abdel Nasser. But inside the country, things were different. Due to her closed economy policies, shortages of essential goods began to emerge. Long queues formed for sugar, flour, and cloth. The people who once cried for her now began to grumble over her policies. Her popularity among the people was like a pendulum. The poor class considered her their mother because she carried out reforms against the feudal system. But the Tamil population and urban middle class were fed up with her rigid attitude. Was she becoming a dictator, or was she just trying to save the country? This is the question that still divides Sri Lankan historians today. The year 1971, Sirimavo's government faced its biggest threat. The extremist communist youth named JVP launched an armed rebellion. Dozens of police stations were captured in a single night. The country was on the brink of civil war. Instead of panicking, Sirimavo showed extraordinary courage. She sought immediate help from India, Pakistan, and the Soviet Union. It was her diplomatic skill that these countries, which were rivals to each other, stood together to help Sirimavo. The rebellion was crushed, but at the cost of thousands of young lives. The 1977 elections proved to be a nightmare for Sirimavo. Her party suffered its worst defeat, but the bad times had only just begun. In 1980, the new government accused her of abuse of power. Her parliamentary membership was revoked, and she was banned from politics for 7 years. A woman who had not let the country bow before nuclear powers was made a political orphan in her own land. Was this her end? No. When a lioness retreats, she is preparing for a more powerful attack. The resurgence. She remained silent for years, but politics still centered in her home, Rosmead Place. In 1994, history turned. Her daughter, Chandrika Kumaratunga, became the president of the country. Chandrika appointed her mother as prime minister again. This was the world's first and unique scene where the daughter was president and the mother was prime minister. Although Sirimavo's health was declining at that time, her political stature was still as high as the Himalayas. On October 10, 2000, it was the day of general elections in Sri Lanka. 84-year-old Sirimavo, who was in a wheelchair, went to the polling station to cast her vote. For her, nothing was greater than democracy and the power of the vote. After casting her vote, as she was returning home, her heart stopped beating. The world's first female prime minister departed while remaining a part of her country's democratic process until her last breath. Global reaction. Her death was mourned worldwide. From India to Britain, all major leaders paid tribute to her. The global media wrote that a voice that taught third world women to speak has fallen silent. Today, when we look at Sri Lanka, we find Sirimavo's footprints everywhere. Her role in the Tamil-Sinhala conflict can be criticized, but no one can doubt her patriotism. She proved that a woman can run not just a home, but a nation that is scattered. She laid the foundation of dynastic politics in South Asia, whose effects we still see today in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. What lesson do we learn from Sirimavo Bandaranaike's life? First lesson: courage. When circumstances pin you against the wall, crying can become strength instead of weakness. Second lesson: perseverance. Ups and downs come in politics, but those who stand firm on their principles are remembered by history. Sirimavo Bandaranaike's story is not just the story of a prime minister. It is the story of the struggle that a widow fought to fulfill her husband's mission. She was a mother who took her children to the corridors of power, and a leader who dreamed of making Sri Lanka a modern state. Today, when the waves of the Indian Ocean crash on Sri Lanka's shores, they seem to narrate Sirimavo's tale, a tale that began with tears and ended in the golden letters of history. Friends, what do you think about Sirimavo Bandaranaike's life? Was she a helpless widow or a visionary politician? Be sure to tell us in the comments. If you liked this detailed documentary, like it and share it with those who are interested in history. To watch more such videos, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon so you don't miss any page of history. Until the next video.